glad you could join us for yet another edition of The Catholic View for Women. I'm Teresa Tomeo, and I host a daily Catholic radio show right here on EWTN Radio as well. That's called Catholic Connection. I'm with my co-host right now, though, from The Catholic View for Women, and that, of course, is the lovely and dynamic Astrid Bennett Gutierrez, and she is with Los Angeles Pregnancy Services as well as Hispanics for Life, and then the stunning and effervescent Janet Morana. She's a co-founder of the Silent No More Awareness Campaign and the executive director of Priests for Life. And on this edition of our program today, we're going to be talking about minority women in the church, and this is a big issue. That's right. A big issue, especially when it pertains to the pro-life situation in our country.
Absolutely, and we know that there is a large Hispanic population in the church. It's growing every day, and also there is a considerable African-American population in the church. And now what I wanted to do with this show is to present some of the challenges in terms of what this community is suffering in terms of the attacks on regarding the life issues, but also the fact that they are a blessing. The Hispanic population, for example, does have a very fervent faith that they bring with them, and we don't want them to lose that faith. As they assimilate, we want them to continue to preserve those values, highlight those values. So the church has as its mission to preserve the faith, and I really see how Planned Parenthood and all these groups really are pushing contraception, promiscuity, abortion, and the same thing with the African American community. So much fervor in the faith and love for the Lord, but then at the same time, how terrible is it to see the statistics from Guttmacher Institute, the research wing of Planned Parenthood, right, that the African American community is 12% of the population, but they actually perform 30% of the abortions on African American women, 25% of the abortions on Hispanic women. Now, ladies, I want to tell you a little bit about my background. Is I grew up in a Hispanic home, and the television was on all the time. I saw in the television commercials for abortion clinics in Spanish. For me, it was normal to see that. In the newspapers, ads for abortion clinics, coupons. So there is a clear target. Coupons. 10% off your unwanted pregnancy. Clearly an attack on our community, and the same thing is happening with the African Americans.
Exactly. You know, and of course you're from LA, and we know, Astrid, where you have you're surrounded, your pregnancy center by nine abortion clinics within a 1 mile radius. And in New York, we have the similar situation. You go to Harlem, the Bronx, and areas of Queens where the Latino and Black communities are.
Who has a higher abortion rate, New York or Los Angeles? New York has the highest, don't they? I think New York State,
because of the dense population, New York City does, and I think but I mean, it's something to be proud of, and also New York has probably more abortion clinics than LA, because that's where Dr. Nathanson and his cohorts at the time founded this whole abortion industry that we have. You know,
the 5 cities with most abortions are Los Angeles, New York City, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, and Miami. And what do they have in common? High populations of minorities. Exactly. So they're clearly targeted.
You know, it's so sad because they bring these communities bring such beauty to the faith and depth to the faith, and with their traditions and with their backgrounds. And I know that you caught up with an African American sister in the Lord in the church.
Yes, I did. And you know, thankfully, you know, she had a very positive experience. Thankfully, the Catholic Church was there for her and her family. So let's hear what she had to say.
As a Black woman in the Catholic Church, I have always felt welcome, a part of the ministry and a part of the church. My family came from the South, and I have a special appreciation actually for the Catholic Church because my family went to Catholic schools. So in the South, when there was segregation, and even though there were segregated schools, the children in the South were educated in the Catholic schools, and that included my family. And some of the first people to go to college were as a result of the Catholic school system. So when my family came out to California, we went to a local church that was predominantly white, and I don't recall ever having an issue at the church, and we always felt welcome, and my parents participated, and we participated in CCD and in all the things that were available at the church. So the experience of being a Catholic for me has always been incredible.
It's so nice to see that she had such a positive experience and continues to have that for her faith. She loves the church. And I think in the second half of our program, we're going to be looking at some of the issues where there are some challenges, though, that we face in terms of an outreach to these different communities. We're much better at it, but we did have problems with this in both the African American and Hispanic communities in the past.
Right.
Yes.
Well, you know, I'm just curious, Astrid, you know, there's certain stigmas that have been portrayed about, especially the Latino community in movies. I always remember that movie about Richie Valens, you know, and it was La Bamba, and it was almost expected. You know, Richie was being a nice guy, and he was dating this one girl in very respectful Latino cultural way, but his brother was very promiscuous, and he kind of dragged him off to Mexico to seed his you know, wild oats and all this. And it's almost like the wink was given, like, this is expected behavior. Right. Is that still prevalent, that machismo kind of attitude among Latinos, and how does that affect the women?
Well, definitely the media has portrayed Hispanics as, you know, the stereotypes, Latin lovers, this kind of thing, or the man beating the wife, or these kind of things. But I think it's very unfair to stereotype people. And I mean, even I was telling you ladies, even the cartoons are not exempt. I mean, Speedy Gonzalez was portrayed as a Latin lover.
I didn't even realize that.
A little mouse.
It's a stereotype. So, for example, Eduardo Verástegui has been a tremendous spokesperson for the fact that many Latino men do want to, you know, portray a different image. They love family, they love marriage and faith. And in Los Angeles, we have 2 major Hispanic Catholic apostolates, and they have a men's conference, and it is packed. And they have men lining up. They can't even get into these conferences. So the hunger for a different way of life, having seen the emptiness of you know, broken down families, especially in the immigrant population, we do see that there is a change. There is some hope within the church for a different society. So it really saddens me to see these stereotypes, and they really are just stereotypes.
Well, Eduardo, too, he had a conversion because he was that other way, right? When he did the telenovelas in Mexico.
Right, he was promoting that.
He was promoting that lifestyle, and then he had a conversion. So wouldn't you say someone like Eduardo, who's kind of had that major conversion, is also having an effect on other Latin men to say, you know, this is the better way?
He absolutely does, and he has helped other people in Hollywood also to begin to see the truth of the Catholic faith. And also what I noticed is women that listen to his story all of a sudden have different standards. They want somebody who wants to defend marriage. They want somebody whose face lights up because he helped to save an unborn child. I mean, this is
or someone who respects them and their dignity and and treats them as a daughter of the King.
I've been at conferences, you know, where Eduardo has spoken to give his testimony, and the help, the Latino help that's all there, you know, working. Suddenly, they're all around the outer part, you know, listening to his talk because they know him from Mexico from the telenovelas, but now they're getting different information. And afterwards, Eduardo always said, some of them come up to him like crying, the women, about, oh, you know, we came to hear you because of the love stories and all that, but now we realize you've changed and this is better. And that's
he's so in love with Jesus.
He's so in love with Jesus.
So he's highlighting basically another face of the Hispanic community.
That's right.
Sure, we have you know, our weaknesses and we're
just like
fallen nature.
Exactly.
But he's highlighting this love for family, love for children, for marriage, and so we're very proud and happy, and we ask the viewers to pray for him and that more people will rise up like him, and he is definitely making a difference.
That's good. That's good.
And we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the problems in the church and touch before we get into a wonderful interview with one of our own family members, Elena Rodriguez, who of course does a great deal of work here at EWTN in both radio and TV, and also a guest host on my radio program, Catholic Connection. A little bit about some of the other problems in the African American community within the church and the way the population is targeted through abortion. And we'll have also some great websites and links on our website, thecatholicviewforwomen.com, for more information. Come right back and we'll talk more about women in the church and the minority women in the church as well. Welcome back to the Catholic View for Women. I'm Teresa Tomeo, your co-host, along with Astrid Bennett Gutierrez and Janet Morana. And we're talking in this segment about minorities and women minorities in particular in the church. Now, Janet, briefly before we go to a fantastic interview that Astrid did with Elena Rodriguez from EWTN, I wanted you just to highlight some of the issues that you see from your perspective for the African American community in the church?
Well, the African American community, basically, because we just stated they are targeted, but the information has not gotten to them. Matter of fact, abortion in particular is an issue that they don't want to speak about. And we know this in particular with the African American women who've come to us for the Silent No More Awareness campaign, that in their community it's kind of hush. You don't want to talk about your abortion.
Even within the church.
Even within the church. Yeah, it's like, hush, we don't want to talk about that. And thanks to Dr. Elvita King, of course, who's not Catholic, but she's leading the charge in educating the African American community about the damage through her experience. You know, she's post-abortive, and other women now are coming forward. But I think one of the great tools that's been developed is a film called Ma'afa 21. And that was developed by Life Dynamics, Mark Crutcher, and it really shows how, from Margaret Sanger on down, how the African American community was targeted with abortion and contraception and sterilization and all that. And what we've been doing is really helping with Dr. Alveda King, getting that out into the communities and having them watch it, and conversions are happening. They really are.
And I think that same targeting, as you said earlier, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but is happening now in the Hispanic community.
Very
similar. Has been for
Absolutely.
a while. Well, let's see what Elena Rodriguez had to say about some of the challenges that she sees in the community in the church community for Hispanics and other minority women. And we interviewed her. Astrid actually had a chance to sit down and talk with Elena Rodriguez of EWTN Radio and TV.
I was born and raised in San Jose, Costa Rica. That's in Central America. And I grew up from start as a cradle Catholic. Both my father and my mother were cradle Catholics as well. And as you may be aware, there's a great Catholic tradition in Latin America. So I absorbed all of that. And going back to my ancestors, my grandparents being from Spain, they also grew up with a Catholic faith in a very rich cultural and Catholic environment. So I was very blessed to grow up in a Catholic family. When I first arrived to the United States, I moved to the United States to go to school, get a master's degree in journalism at the University of Missouri. And I was in for a big surprise because I was exposed to a different faith environment than what I was used to back home in my homeland in Costa Rica. So that rocked my faith, and it challenged me in a great deal. At first, I'll be totally honest with you, I thought that I was going to lose my faith. The reason that happened is because the first day I was here in the United States, I found a church on campus, and I went in for Mass, and I thought, this is great. I can have daily Mass on campus. How cool is that? But at that time, the liturgy there were a lot of violations in the liturgy at that time, at that particular place. And I started seeing things that I knew were very wrong, and that really scared me. But then I started expanding my horizons a little bit and going a little bit further away from campus, and I was able to find 2 other churches that were fairly close where I could go to, Catholic churches for Mass, and I found a parish home, and that was basic for me in solidifying my faith here in a new country. You are dealing, when you first come, with a lot of different factors that are different from what you are used to and can cause a cultural shock, a faith shock, but finding that parish home was really important for me. Okay. Fast forwarding, I'm here at EWTN, very blessed to be here. It is a dream come true. I grew up watching Mother Angelica live episodes while I was in Costa Rica as a young lady in Spanish, and I thought one day I would like to work in a place like that. Wouldn't that be cool, where I could add on the gifts that God has given me in my career, journalism, and also work for our Lord and Our Lady. And I thought it was impossible back then. Well, fast forward, I am here, I am blessed. I'm blessed to be part of EWTN, and I do several things here, basically whatever is needed. And one of the things that I do, and my main day, is I work for EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network, our feed in English for radio listeners around the world. I'm a producer, but I've also worked and continue to work with EWTN Television in English. One of the things that really is near and dear to my heart is the March for Life coverage every year from Washington, D.C. in January. And I'm blessed to be part of the EWTN team that goes out there and covers that live. usually 450,000 people marching for life to tell our Congress, men and women, to please make abortion illegal. We are blessed to be part of that, and I broadcast that. I'm the on-site person for the Spanish TV feed and radio feed. So I am also blessed to work with the Spanish feed for radio and television. And it is a dream come true. I don't feel worthy, but all of us, if you ask all of us here at EWTN how we got here, you will hear a wonderful story. Different stories in every case, but just wonderful examples of how the Lord has brought us here and has prepared us throughout our lives to be able to fulfill this wonderful mission of evangelization here at EWTN. As a Hispanic, I have found many challenges coming to this country, and I feel that my fellow brothers and sisters in the faith who come from Latin America also face the same hardships. First of all, there's a great cultural difference. There's a language difference as well. And we are very vivid in our traditions in Latin America. When we come to the United States, that changes. Our faith is the same. Mass, of course, Holy Mass is the same, but there are a lot of cultural factors playing in there, and that can sometimes be very challenging. That is one part of what affects us. Now, the other challenge also is that when you come to this country, it's all about work, 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 speed, speed, speed. You're running all day in and out and trying to get everything done, and the culture tells you earn more money, spend more, spend more. It's all around money. And you very quickly begin to forget the values that you bring from your homeland, the values of communication, family coming first, and having time to sit down and visit with your family, and having time to, yes, work of course is very important, but also having time to dedicate to God in prayer, to visit church, to visit others, to visit the sick, to spend time with the children, to raise your own children, and to be able to take care of your elderly. All that changes, and that can draw you away from your faith to a point where you think that faith is secondary and you have to survive the day by day because it's all about money. But we know that it's not the case, and we have to be very aware when we come here not to lose our roots, and on the other hand, take advantage of all the wonderful things that the United States has to offer and all the wonderful opportunities that we also have about being here, about learning about our faith and increasing our faith and being able to share it with others. I would recommend to follow the example of the saints. And if you just look at the history of the lives of the saints, there's two things they always had in common. Number one, their love for the Holy Eucharist. And number two, their devotion to our Most Blessed Mother. Because our Most Blessed Mother was the first Marian, she was the first Christian, and our Lord was the first Marian. So follow our Most Blessed Mother. As a Hispanic, do not forget that we are very, very devoted to our Most Blessed Mother. As an example, in my case, I come from Costa Rica. The patron saint of Costa Rica is Our Lady of the Angels, and I always, to remind myself where I come from and my love for our Most Blessed Mother, I always carry an image of Our Lady of the Angels along with my crucifix. And this reminds me every day when I put it on that I am a daughter of Our Lady and that I should behave accordingly.
So we see, ladies, there is a lot of hope still left in the Hispanic community with evangelization, although we have many challenges. One clear challenge is the fact that Hispanics are overwhelmingly pro-life when asked, but then they're voting pro-death.
Why is that? It's the same thing for different cultural groups,
I believe it has to do with the
Italian Americans are the same way. I mean, there's certain groups that just
people
affiliate
who are
themselves.
Hardcore Democrats. My grandfather voted Democrat traditionally.
Exactly, and the media really does take a hold of the message. They are in favor of abortion for the most part, so they take media messages as gospel truth, quote unquote, you know. So hopefully they'll begin to make the connection more and more as the church speaks out about the truth of abortion and how to vote responsibly according to our Catholic faith. So we are seeing some strides. California in particular, you know, we're trying to pass a parental notification law in California. We have not been able to achieve it. This year, God willing, we will. And we've seen the polls. The Hispanics are more and more choosing the pro-life law. They're voting in favor of the pro-life law. So we're hoping that this is a fruit of what we've been doing at Hispanics for Life, for example, is teaching Hispanics how to make those connections, that it does matter, that our faith should not be checked in at the door when we go and vote, and that voting is important, and that our faith that we carry with us instinctively can be a blessing for this country, that, as Scott Hahn says, we are missionaries coming to this country with a lot of values, family values and traditions, but the media, I think, is so powerful and influential that it's not allowing them to make these connections. So we hope that, as Elena was mentioning, that the hopes and the challenges is that the church will play a part in helping them to see the truth.
Okay, but now, Astrid, you're the president of Hispanics for Life. You've been mentioning it a few times, but specifically, as far as the church is concerned, how does Hispanics for Life really help the Catholic Church to accomplish the things you're saying?
Hispanics for Life was founded 20 years ago, and one thing that we are known for is the video Hard Truth in Spanish, Dura Realidad, which depicts the truth about abortion, which Hispanics seem to be very open to. We have a saying that the heart cannot feel if the eye cannot view the truth. And so this video shows the victim of abortion, the unborn child after it's aborted, is helped to change many minds. So what Hispanics for Life has been doing in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, assisting Archbishop Gomez, is establishing Hispanic Respect Life committees. So this is something we hope will start in other dioceses. I know that in Texas, in Phoenix, there already are some groups starting, but having a Hispanic counterpart to the Respect Life committees is very important to be able to disseminate the truth about how to vote responsibly according to our faith, where are the pregnancy resources, where are the post-abortion healing groups, so that Hispanic women can also be assimilated, not just to society in general, but to the church, and to be part of the church, and to be able to be part of the pro-life movement as well. Hispanics for Life also helps to mentor Hispanic pro-life leaders. So we hope more people do get involved with Hispanics for Life. They can visit our website, hispanicsforlife.org, to get more information, resources. We also developed an entire manual that has all the information of how to start a committee in the parish in Spanish, and so that we can not forget about our Hispanic brothers and sisters. And our churches are more and more Hispanic, so we have to have Spanish language resources for them.
Also, we have a number of other different resources that you'll find on our website at CatholicViewForWomen.com, and you can find, of course, the National Black Catholic Congress, also, as Astrid mentioned, Hispanics for Life, HispanicLeaders.net, and we'll give you also some other information, some documents, and some information about My Alpha 21, and also, of course, Priests for Life has a whole minority area that you deal with, correct,
well, yes,
Janet?
We have our African American outreach under Dr. Alveda King. There's a link on our website right to that, and it's constantly updated, Alveda's blog, so we want you to be involved with us without Dr. King, as she is reaching out to the African American community nationwide, really. There's so many other topics we could dive into with this issue, because especially across the country, these groups are being greatly affected with many, many things that are coming up. Of course, we only have a half hour, but hopefully, God willing, in our next series, we'll be able to dive into some of the other issues. Thanks so much for watching The Catholic View for Women. I'm Teresa Tomeo, along with Astrid Bennett Gutierrez and Janet Morana. And of course, we'll see you next time on The View, The Catholic View, that is, for women, right here on EWTN.